Greetings all. What I wanted to do to start things off today was just to give a general perspective on some of the topics and concerns that some of our customers and others in the industry that we deal with have related to automation, as they have historically or are now thinking about starting that journey towards adding more automation to their facilities. We had an opportunity to survey our global customer base, and the results were published last month, and some interesting insights came out. Number one is, it seems that a very high percentage of our customers now see automation as something really critical for them to remain competitive in their respective markets and in the industry overall over the next couple of years. And so from that and from conversations that we've had, automation will continue to be top of mind to many of the container terminals that we service, and in most markets, as we come out of 2020, which has been an interesting year for some of our customers and many in the industry, but as things start to come back to whatever new version of normal that is, that investment dollars and attention of the different terminals will be focused more and more on automation. At the same time, there's an expectation that the vendors providing solutions here will continue to add new and leading edge technology to help drive optimization. And so the assumption is that artificial intelligence, machine learning, and further integration, I think, into other systems is going to be expected from the organizations, whether it's on the equipment side or the software side, so that the solution or the automated terminal that comes out of these projects is leading edge and as a platform for a return on investment to the business, over a 3, 5, 8+ year time frame. And finally, collectively, 70+% of the respondents said they wanted either a system integrator to lead their project, or at least have the solution be pre-integrated. And I think this comes back to Steve's point, where customers know they need automation. They're excited about going in this direction to improve operations on their on the terminal site. However, they're looking for predictability. They're looking to make sure that the costs are in line with the business size that they have. They want to make sure it happens in a fairly timely fashion. And then last but not least, altogether, they want to make sure the projects are as low risk as possible, because these things can be fairly disruptive. And so they are looking for vendors and vendor partners to help them down that journey and build on the experience that many have had over the last 5, 6, 7 years, and bring that to bear on their projects in the near term. The business case for automation, as mentioned, it does deliver more predictable and efficient operations. There's opportunities to reduce certain infrastructure costs and certain IT costs, but again, there typically has been a fairly high initial investment for CapEx, and so that the business cases that are being built are how do we minimize that, maybe come up with different business models with the vendors to help to manage some of that cost. But ultimately, we're looking to drive operations that are more efficient. We talk about global optimization, meaning that you're looking to optimize the full scale of your business, and ultimately optimize interactions outside the terminal walls, and so that you do are continuing to provide better service to your customers, but also all the investments and work that you're doing has a chance that we're making sure that all possible waste is being taken out of the operation or out of the business. And then finally, with that automation, if you've got better and more consistent data, then that helps to drive certain reporting and business intelligence that further helps to improve the overall operations, and ultimately help to drive a return on that investment back to the business in a quicker time frame. The last few years around automation and some of the equipment, has been interesting. We are seeing equipment types and different other components on the terminal become smarter, and the advantage to customers as they're embarking on this journey, or adding automation to their facility, or looking to begin an automation project, you have more choice. A few years ago, what seemed to be pretty common in many markets was on the landside transportation, the AGVs, and now the choices are working towards auto trucks, auto shuttles, auto strads, and then the intelligence embedded in some of these equipment, in some of this equipment, is actually quite significant. So they are now becoming an interactive, having an interactive relationship with some of the other host systems. So predictive maintenance, scheduled downtimes, and ultimately better prepared to drive more optimization in their movement. So that ultimately provides a more optimized operation. And at the end of the day, the machinery is starting to, shall we say, think, and it has an ability to act, semi-autonomously against other systems that are managing them. So it's certainly been a very interesting journey over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And I think going forward, 2021, 2022, and beyond, you're going to see further improvements, from the likes of the equipment manufacturers, whether it's like our friends ZPMC or on the call today, or others in the industry. That automation, when we talk about end to end, it's really making sure that every key part of the operation does have an opportunity to be on automating the equipment. We start to further automate processes, and then the staff that we have on site is really just focusing on exception handling and letting the systems in place do as much of the heavy lifting or start making some of the decisions for us. And as I mentioned before, the devices are now the Internet of Things. So devices are connected real time, and there's sensors really all through the operation. So that real time information is then feeding back into a main system, and it could be some on-premise applications, could be applications that are coming in from the cloud that are supporting the operations, and together that connectivity across all facets of the operation, and then ultimately out to your customers and other key stakeholders is what's really what helps to enable this end-to-end automation concept. And so from a global perspective, for the operations, that where you want to have something covered or automated, you have the opportunity to do that. And also what we're starting to see now, which is common in a number of computer applications that people may use in their personal lives and other parts of their business, whether something is on the cloud or certainly in a central data repository, that further enables the real-time exchange of information between all pieces of equipment on the terminal, all the key users, and again all the different stakeholders. And so at the end of the day, the amount of information that you have is driving a level of knowledge that then supports actionable insights. And so the data creates knowledge, and then again actionable insights, and so that we can start to predict things and kind of look around the corner and either make sure equipment is where it needs to be in advance of the demand. This is some algorithms and software that helps to enable that. At the same time, trying to hide complexity where possible so that the user experience is simple and easy, whether it's someone inside the terminal or a customer or another stakeholder, so that they can easily get information that they need to make decisions that ultimately support a more efficient operation from your side. And then from a technology point of view, with a certain centralized approach, the ability to update different parts of your system becomes easier, and therefore you always have access to the most current technology. As Steve mentioned, automation has been a topic in the industry for many years. And the last 7 to 10 years have seen an interesting spike in whether it's full automated terminals or semi-automated terminals. But the organizations and the individuals involved in that really were kind of on the far side of this curve, either visionaries or technical enthusiasts who took, in some cases, a little bit of a gamble, or certainly were early adopters with using some of this technology, and they helped to lay the groundwork for an awful lot of the work that's going on now, and I think some of the plans a number of companies have at the moment. And so I think it's fair to say now we're kind of in the middle of this curve, as they say, where from a more pragmatic or practical users are now saying, okay, we see automation as now being ready and mature enough that we can introduce it to our terminal. The maturity of those solutions means it comes from or includes a greater level of experience from the key vendor partners that a terminal is going to have to work with to roll out and enable these solutions. And because of that experience, at the end of the day, you've got a stronger business case, because as I mentioned, these things can happen faster, lower risk, and some of the costs can actually be better maintained as well. So that predictability makes it much easier for I think a larger percentage of the industry now to be comfortable make decisions to go down this path and consider automation in whatever form is going to make the most sense for their business and for supporting their customers. To that point, what we see an awful lot of our clients do is try to take a step-by-step approach. And the reason for this really is that as you go from a manual terminal or have manual operations and move towards more and more automated operations, there is change management required at all levels of the business, from those working in the yard and at the gate all the way up to management, and then ultimately even into your key stakeholders, board of directors, et cetera. And so what we've seen to be a very successful approach is that organizations first consider, how can I just automate certain processes that I have right now and start getting used to that mindset in different parts of your business. Then as you move towards managing equipment, remote controlled equipment does help everyone get used to a different way or a new way of working. And from that, you then can start to do some rollouts of automating various pieces of equipment in the yard, and you go beyond sort of some test cases into actual real-time production. You have to potentially, if it's a brownfield site, you're having to keep the business running at the same time. So you do it in phases, block by block or section by section of your yard. And then once you're finished, then you've completed the full optimization of key parts of your business. And ultimately, if there's an interest, then you can automate both the land and the key side. So again, we see this step-by-step approach to be a very practical way to deal with this. And the timeframes involved will vary by the size of the terminal, the complexity of what types of automated systems you're trying to implement, but certainly we've seen these projects worked 6 to 9 month window, 12 to 18 month window, 12 to 24 month window. Again, all depends on some of the particulars of an existing operation or the ambitions for say a greenfield site. But certainly, I think it's fair to say that the expectations of the industry are such that they're looking to the existing vendors with the experience that they have to drive a time to market here, at a faster pace than maybe historically had been done a few years back with some of the earlier project early adopters. And finally, from a Navis perspective, with the work that we've done with so many of our customers around the world and working with key partners to enable those projects that we've been on, we do have now a broad range of experience on how to help customers go on this journey of automation. And it really starts that we do have some sample blueprints that we can use to begin the conversation and fine tune the to-be environment that we're looking to roll out. We've got a number of key modules or software applications that are already set to drive and support optimization across your business. As an ability then to further fine tune that once we get closer to go live. And again, if we have to deal with any particular local requirements, whether they're customer driven or by the market or local port authority. And then last but not least, that's feeding an increase in the amount of information that we have. And so we do have existing dashboards that drive certain KPIs. So that the idea is once the terminal begins this automation journey and you go live, there's an opportunity for ongoing fine tuning and still trying to find different parts of the business where we can continue to improve and to optimize, and can be kind of an ongoing process. But these are some of the key components that are critical to a successful go live, and the experience that my colleagues have around the world and with key partners helps to enable that on a regular basis. So with that, I want to thank everyone, and I'll pass it over back to the floor where my colleague Mina Shah will be able to talk to us a little bit more detail about some of the related technologies.